Lucy and I were engaged, but I knew she still had feelings for Ethan. She was the one who had control of the company, and once she got it back on track, she wanted to be with Ethan, the man she truly loved. She let him take everything from me, and I became a joke in the process, but I didn't say anything. I just quietly stepped aside. The money I got from our breakup could help Lily, the person I really cared about. One day I went to Lucy's office to drop off some papers. I could hear noises inside that suggested she wasn't alone. It was Ethan. Lucy had been spending a lot of time with him lately. Ethan must have heard me approaching because he said to Lucy in a playful way, "Your fiancé is here. Should we stop and let him wait?" The noises inside got even more suggestive, and my imagination started to run wild. After a while, Lucy finally came out. Her clothes were a bit messy, and I noticed faint red marks on her neck. "What's up?" she asked, her patience already wearing thin. "Documents, signature required," I said simply. She snatched the pen and signed quickly, like she couldn't wait to get rid of me. But just as I was about to leave, she stopped me. "Edward, I need you to take care of something." "What is it?" I asked. "Ethan and I were photographed by the media yesterday. You need to make sure those photos don't get out." "Why?" I asked sarcastically. "Weren't those photos the truth? We haven't officially broken up yet. Ethan would be labeled as someone who breaks up relationships, and that would be bad for his career." Lucy's face was as beautiful as ever. The way she said such hurtful things sounded like she was doing me a favor. I stood there for a long moment, not saying anything. Her patience finally ran out, and she threatened, "You'll handle it, right?" I smiled faintly. "Of course." I had my team take care of suppressing the gossip. Everyone looked at me strangely. Everyone at the company knew about the situation between the three of us. 5 years ago, Lucy was new to the business world. She was trying to take over her family's entertainment company, but was being manipulated and pushed out by the board. She was at her lowest point when she met me. I stayed by her side through those difficult times, helped her rise again, and regain control of the company. I remembered one night when Lucy was drunk. She wouldn't let go of my hand. She had said, "Edward saved my life. Without him, I would have jumped off the company building. Edward, my dear Edward, let's get married. Please marry me." Amid the cheers of the people around us, I had gently nodded and said, "All right." Later, I found out that on the same night she confessed to me, Lucy had also texted Ethan, asking if he was interested in signing with my entertainment company. "The top spot is always yours," she had written. Ethan had agreed. It turned out they had been involved long before his debut. He was her first love, someone she couldn't forget. On the day Ethan's contract was signed, Lucy was too excited to sleep. She cared way too much about Ethan. Wherever he was filming, she would visit him. Rumors started spreading among the crew. So, Lucy dragged me along, saying Ethan's reputation couldn't be ruined. "Just say the three of us were together last night," she had instructed. "How should I explain that?" I had asked. "Just say the three of us were together." "But I wasn't there last night," I pointed out. Lucy didn't even look at me. Her attention was completely focused on her phone, scrolling through Ethan's new photos and saving every one of them. I remembered a scene they were filming that involved water. It was cold, and the water was freezing. Ethan refused to get in, whining to Lucy, "I'll catch a cold. Do you want me to get sick?" Of course, Lucy didn't want that. She ordered the director to find a double, but the double wasn't available that day. In a bind, Ethan pointed at me. "Edward can do it. We're about the same size. It's just a shot of his back." At first, Lucy hesitated, but then she realized that no one else really looked like me. "Edward," I interrupted her. "Lucy, I told you earlier today that I wasn't feeling well." She paused, and then Ethan scolded, So what if you're unwell? Foreigners work through it, Edward. Don't be dramatic. You work for the company. He spoke as if he was the boss. I looked calmly at Lucy. She knew very well that I couldn't be in cold water when I was sick, but after a moment, she decided against it. Edward, just do it for me, she pleaded. In the end, I didn't go in. The director found a professional from another team, but from that day on, Lucy took away most of my company privileges. The people who could freely enter her office changed from me to Ethan. Now, she was openly flirting with Ethan and expected me to clean up her messes. I overheard a few colleagues gossiping in the break room. Why isn't Edward mad? If it were me, I couldn't put up with it. Another replied, he's blinded by love, that's why. He's too into Lucy. There's nothing he can't endure. Standing outside the door, I laughed to myself. They were right. There was nothing I couldn't endure, not for much longer anyway. Lily's illness was almost cured. Lily, the girl who had given everything to save me, risking her own life repeatedly, was about to wake up. There was a gathering that night. I was late. Lucy had already had a few drinks. Ethan sat beside her, dressed in revealing clothes. They had lost a game, and with everyone teasing them, they were about to share a close moment. Someone said, wouldn't Edward be upset to know this? Lucy's expression turned cold. Why bring him up? I paused at the door, intrigued. Lucy, what's the deal with you and Edward? Someone asked. What do you mean? Lucy replied. Are you actually not going to marry him? Really? Lucy snickered. Edward is only good-looking, but he's boring and dull. I got tired of him ages ago. Ethan's pride almost showed through. If that's the case, a rich kid dared to speak up. I'll pursue Edward. I actually like that type. Lucy was stunned, then seemed angry. If you touch Edward, you'll never step foot in Beijing again. The rich kid smirked. But didn't you just say you're tired of him? We haven't broken up. Even if I'm tired of him, it's not your turn. Still not broken up? Lucy, aren't you torn? That's nonsense, she snapped. Lucy looked around the room with a cold glare. He clings like gum. Can't shake him off. Someone tried to mediate. Yeah, Edward can't leave Lucy. Maybe he would throw a tantrum or cause a scene. The tension eased a bit. I finally pushed the door open and walked in. I pretended I had just arrived, chatting and laughing with my friends. I purposely ignored Lucy. Edward, come over here, Lucy called out, but I acted like I didn't hear her. I sat down next to the rich kid, and Lucy's face turned dark. Edward, if you don't come over, this is it for us, Lucy threatened. The room went silent. Everyone seemed to be waiting for me to panic and plead, but I just blinked calmly and said, All right. That night, Lucy and I broke up. I heard that after I left, she threw a massive tantrum, almost wrecking the private room. But Lucy still thought I was just sulking and would eventually give in. She waited and waited, only to receive my resignation letter. Lucy started to panic. She looked for me everywhere, asking people about me. She said she never intended to break up, and Ethan was just a show she had staged. Nothing had actually happened between them. Besides, half of the entertainment company had been built by me. My sudden departure left the company in chaos. Lucy was on the verge of breaking down, but she couldn't find me no matter how hard she tried. I had vanished, taking all my savings with me. Months later, I made headlines in major media outlets. Former top star Lily wakes from coma. The photo showed me bursting into tears, gazing joyously at Lily. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at her. The picture was shared and discussed wildly. Years ago, Lily had been the hottest star in the entertainment industry, but she had been severely injured saving someone and had to retire. It was then that Lucy learned about my past with Lily. Lily was my childhood friend. She had saved me back then. She was the most important person to me. I had never loved Lucy. All these years I had tolerated her and catered to her just for Lily's medical bills. They say Lucy went completely mad when she saw the news. Lily and I had a complicated past. We had met in an orphanage and grown up together. When I was 7, I was adopted by a wealthy couple. My adoptive parents weren't kind, but at least they were rich. I didn't have to worry about food and shelter. Lily wasn't so lucky. Her unique looks earned her the nickname Fox. She hated it whenever other kids called her that. She would fight them. The adults would just shake their heads, and Lily became the unwanted child. In her teenage years, Lily's temper worsened. Whenever someone joked about her looks, she would go crazy, fighting until the end. In 8th grade, Lily beat up the principal's son at the Monday flag-raising ceremony. She was publicly criticized, and the principal forced her to apologize. Lily grabbed the microphone, a sly smile curling on her lips. "Your son asked how much for a night I would sell myself to him. I reasonably suspect he learned it from his dad. Teach by example, right, Principal?" The crowd erupted in an uproar. The principal was furious and threw a cup at her, breaking open her forehead. Blood streamed down her face, but she stood firm, her smile even more chilling, like a god weary of the world. But surprisingly, the next day, Lily obediently went to apologize to the principal. She wrote a 10,000-word reflection, pleading tearfully for the school's mercy, as if she wasn't the one who had challenged everyone the day before. No one understood what had happened except me. Amidst the chaos of the flag-raising ceremony, I had grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her out of the crowd. My adoptive parents had forbidden any contact with the orphanage kids, so Lily and I had lost touch for years. I never expected to reunite this way. Lily was delighted to see me again. I told her, "No matter what happens, never drop out of school. Studying is the only weapon we have. Only with that weapon can we regain our lost dignity." Lily trusted me. From that day on, she changed. She sought help everywhere, stayed in school, stopped fighting, and studied hard, acing her classes. We acted like strangers at school. Even when we crossed paths, we just brushed past each other. But no one knew that every night after self-study, Lily quietly followed me home and stood under my bedroom window, silently keeping me company until I fell asleep. The orphanage had very little money, and Lily was always hungry. I split half of my allowance with her so she wouldn't starve. During those humid, stifling years, we supported each other like that. After the high school entrance exams, the principal was arrested for molesting minors. When he was taken away, I stood at the back of the crowd, smiling silently at him, because I was the victim, and I had lured him. I can't be blamed. I simply wanted to discuss entrance preferences with the principal, I mean the police. What's wrong with asking them to protect me, a minor? If the principal had been a decent man, I wouldn't have caught him no matter how hard I tried. The case caused a stir. When I gave my testimony, everyone sympathized with me. Not to mention, I was at the top of my year, an obedient, well-behaved student. The principal couldn't bear the public criticism and attempted suicide, but failed. He was left paralyzed. His son's bullying was also exposed, and no high school wanted him. That was my first setup. At 15, I had won big. The only downside was that I earned a reputation. Some said I was dirty, that I was promiscuous as a kid. My adoptive parents were disappointed too, but I didn't care at all. I realized then that I was different from other boys. Reputation, approval, they meant nothing. All I cared about was winning. Winning thrilled me, made me tremble. I would do anything to win. Later, I got into a prestigious university. Lily, with her stunning looks, became famous. No one knew that her public persona was my creation. Even her management company didn't know I existed. We were the best partners. Until 5 years ago, my adoptive parents went bankrupt, buried in debt. They sold me to a crime boss in Hong Kong to pay off their debts. I then learned that their years of raising me hadn't been out of kindness. They had demanded top grades to sell me at a good price. Lily found out, emptied her savings since her debut, and bought me back. That was the first time Lily saved me. Lily's second time saving me was like a freak accident. Someone tried to run me over with a car. That day it was snowing heavily. I had met up with Lily. Because of her fame, she couldn't go to crowded places. As I crossed the street, a car rushed toward me. Lily quickly pushed me away and ended up lying in a pool of blood. The car drove off immediately. That road didn't even have cameras installed yet. The accident ended Lily's amazing career. She lay on the hospital bed, needing pricey treatments, but Lily ran out of money. She had spent it all saving me. Her agency abandoned her, claiming force majeure and breaking the contract. The entertainment world moves fast, and she was slowly forgotten. But I didn't forget. I met Lucy and helped her rebuild her company, partly to help fund Lily's treatment and partly to uncover the truth behind the accident, using the influence of the entertainment company. Later on, Lucy confessed her feelings for me. I knew she was attracted to my skills and wanted me around to work for her. I needed her fiancé status to do more, so we entered a mutually beneficial relationship. You think I broke up with her because of her cheating now? No. It was because I discovered that the accident might be closely tied to people around Lucy. My memory cut short. The microphone was in front of me. Today marked the second month of Lily's recovery. She couldn't appear on camera, so I took the interview for her. A reporter asked, "Edward, you were once engaged to Lucy, but now you're with Lily. Do you still love Lucy?" Looking up, I suddenly noticed Lucy, who I hadn't seen in half a year, standing at the back of the crowd with red eyes, staring at me. "You should ask Lucy," I replied softly. Did she love me when she spent the night with Ethan on set? Did she love me when she flirted with Ethan at work? When she secretly met with Ethan and had me cover for them? Did she love me? The reporters were stunned. Silence filled the room. I smiled, relieved. It didn't matter anymore. I could no longer love her. Lucy's gaze faltered, looking lost. After the interview, she cornered me backstage. After 6 months, Lucy looked even more haggard than I had imagined. "I finally found you, Edward," she said. I nodded politely, distantly. "Hello, Lucy." The unfamiliar title made her pause. "Edward, are you still mad?" "No." "Then let me explain. Ethan and I never had anything. He was just acting." "Oh, acting." Lucy's gaze dimmed. "A performance just for you." Lucy's words took me by surprise. Basically, Ethan was a decoy she had hired to provoke me because I was too gentle, too calm. I never questioned her whereabouts, not even when she stayed out all night. I didn't even blink when the media spread rumors about her. I was the perfect, emotionless boyfriend. Lucy had felt uneasy. Her gut had told her I didn't love her. Each time she asked, "Edward, do you love me?" I gave the standard, "Of course I love you," but there was no change in my smile. Lucy had become confused. She had a crazy idea. She wanted to make me jealous. She had hired Ethan, pretending to be flirty around him, but she hadn't expected me to leave entirely. Lucy's voice was hoarse. "Edward, I already kicked Ethan out. No one can replace you. Come back, please." I said nothing. Lucy grew anxious. "I like you. I really, really do. I don't want to lose you." I interrupted. "What about Ethan? What does he say?" "Don't worry, Ethan is a good man," she said. "When I asked him to act, I made it clear." "Good man, really?" I slowly opened my phone. Screenshots of Ethan's private social media posts were saved on my phone. It showed Lucy asleep, with Ethan leaning against her intimately. The caption read, "Feeling unwell filming today, but someone came to keep me company. Always here when needed." The post was likely only visible to me. Lucy's shock said it all. How could he? I said, "Lucy, this is good old Ethan for you." The interview had taken a toll on Ethan's reputation. Later, a video surfaced, seemingly shot recently, showing a fight between Lucy and Ethan. "What did we agree on?" Lucy demanded. "I just wanted you to act. I didn't ask you to stir things up by posting those to Edward. How conniving." Ethan looked hurt. "I just wanted it to look real." "Your real," Lucy said coldly, "was taking those photos and sharing them with my fiancé." Ethan stammered before blurting out, "What's so great about Edward? His looks are average, worse than mine. Why do you like him?" Lucy replied, "I don't need to tell you why, but he's gone. Why not give me a chance? You liked me best before. Here I am. Why don't you see me?" Lucy's answer was, "Too late." Ethan countered, frustrated. Lucy, reaching for her coat to leave, was stopped by him again. "Lucy, stay with me tonight," he begged. The act exhausted Lucy's patience, and she shoved him to the ground, ignoring him as he fell. The video stirred a huge fuss online. A foolish woman faking infidelity and a third party trying to make it real, both ending up self-destructing. It was quite a show. Ethan, known for his cool image, now looked absurd. Public opinion turned in my favor. Ethan tried to salvage his situation. One morning I woke up to phone calls. A friend told me Ethan had brought up my past online. Edward, he had begun. He once got involved with big shots in Hong Kong. You know how dirty those circles can get? You guys know what I mean, right? On camera, Ethan was making these sly remarks. I watched him perform with interest. Ethan wanted to go down in flames, dragging me down with him, but he didn't know his good days were numbered. Suddenly, I remembered the day Ethan signed with the company. That was the first time we met. He had acted like he already knew me, eyeing me from head to toe. "I didn't expect to see you here." His words had been a bit odd. I had pondered for a long time but couldn't recall where I'd met him before. Recently, though, I was getting some clues. Let him strut around a little longer. Once I had all the evidence, I would put him behind bars. While I was lost in thought, a friend messaged me. "Today is Lily's first variety show after coming back, right?" "Yeah, why?" "The guest star is Ethan." Not long ago, Lily had announced her return to showbiz. She didn't have an agent now. It was all up to me. When we had taken on this show, nobody had mentioned Ethan as the guest star. What a coincidence. I rushed to the studio, worried Lily might get bullied, but it turned out I was worried for nothing. Ethan was stunned upon seeing her, even forgetting the cameras were rolling. The other guests were similarly shocked. Lily, despite being sick for many years, still looked stunning. Her comeback face was unrivaled in the business. Her illness had only added a fragile touch to her look. When she wasn't smiling, she was like a deity. When she smiled, she was a beauty demon. The camera crew couldn't stop filming her. During the break, Ethan tried talking to her. Lily looked down at him, smiling indifferently. Ethan blushed, not noticing the coldness in Lily's eyes. After the shoot, I went to pick up Lily backstage and bumped into Ethan. "I've heard about your stunning looks. Meeting you today proves it's true," he said. "Thank you." "So, are you close to Edward?" Lily replied. "What are you trying to say?" Lily blinked as if casting a spell. Ethan gathered the courage to speak. "Have you seen the news about Edward? His past is dirty. I mean no harm, just worried. Don't want you to get tricked like Lucy." "Are you talking about Edward's rumor of being a kept man?" Lily asked. Ethan nodded. "Yeah, you've seen it. I didn't plan to spill this secret, but I was worried. Women as great as you and Lucy might get fooled, so I spoke up." "Oh, that must have been hard for you," Lily beamed, lifting a hand. Her finger brushed Ethan's chin. Ethan shivered shyly. "It's crowded here. Can we step outside?" He looked hopeful. But the next moment, Lily grabbed his throat, squeezing hard. "First, I'm not just aware of Edward's past. I was involved completely. Second, I'm the one who saved him. You try this again, I'll snap your neck." Ethan struggled in pain, his face flushed. Lily let him go after getting her fill of the sight. He coughed non-stop, his gaze at Lily turning from admiration to horror. "I bet you're thinking of telling the media about this, right?" Lily's voice was too gentle, like asking what he wanted for dinner. "You can do that, but you should know, someone back from death fears nothing." Ethan was terrified. Then Lily saw me. She lit up with a gorgeous smile. "Edward, let's go." I reached out for her. "Wait." Lily suddenly took out a wet wipe, cleaning her hands thoroughly. "I touched something dirty." I chuckled behind us. Ethan glared at me in hatred, but his nightmare wasn't over. As we left, a group of company executives approached. They headed straight for Ethan, holding a stack of papers. "Ethan, we're ending your contract." I figured Lucy had done some digging after the leak. She had found out my past wasn't rosy. Abusive foster parents, beatings for poor grades or acne. After they went broke, I was sold to pay their debts. They had never treated me as family. Lucy must have also learned how Lily had exhausted her fortune and begged on her knees to save me. Lily had never looked down on me. That was something Lucy could never understand. To make things right. She removed the one who had leaked it all. The contract termination was huge news, trending for days. But Ethan quickly found a new big shot, still parading around, seemingly unfazed. Then I saw a photo. Ethan cozying up to a mogul in a private car. That car caught my eye instantly. Stars usually ride in minivans. That was the first time I had seen Ethan's personal car. No, wait, the second time. Because the first time, he had tried running me over with it. The day of the accident, it had snowed heavily, and visibility was low. All I remembered was the car model. Over the years, I had quietly investigated through company resources. Most evidence pointed to Ethan. He was the prime suspect, the driver. But the evidence wasn't strong, especially without a motive since we had never met. Why would he want me dead? When Lucy signed Ethan, I wasn't angry. I thought it was my chance to get closer to the truth. Ethan invited the executives for dinner. I pretended to be drunk and asked him to have his assistant drive me. I took another risky step by getting in their car, with a knife in my bag for protection and a mini camera on me, just in case, to record evidence if needed. Unexpectedly, the assistant only asked a few simple questions. "Where did you spend Chinese New Year 5 years ago? On the second day, when the snow was heaviest, did anything unusual happen?" I played the drunken fool, saying I couldn't remember. Between work and life, I couldn't even recall yesterday's lunch. "Truly can't," I mumbled. The assistant looked uncertain. I shook my head. "Come on, New Year feels the same every time now. It lacks the atmosphere." After those words, I pretended to sleep. The assistant discreetly messaged Ethan, unaware that I had my eyes slightly open. I caught it perfectly clear from the corner of my eye. From that day on, I became more cautious. What really had happened on the second day of the new year 5 years ago? Had I missed something? I never thought I would actually find something. An elderly man had been dragged by a car and died. The driver had never been found. It had become a cold case. I remembered the intersection where the accident had occurred. I recalled that day. The snow was coming down hard. There wasn't a soul on the street except for me and an old man collecting parking fees. He was dressed in rags, arguing with the driver. I had glanced at them, but hadn't paid much attention. Probably after I had turned into another alley, the driver, Ethan, had lost patience and hit the gas. The old man's clothes had gotten caught on the car, and he had been dragged for hundreds of meters. By the time people found his frozen and blood-drained body, The heavy snow had already covered the tire marks. The police had no leads. The surveillance cameras had just happened to miss the scene. The old man had no children, no family, no one to seek justice for him. The matter had been left unresolved, and I had unknowingly become the lone witness. Ethan, fearing his career would be ruined, had wanted to silence me. But he hadn't known that I had my back turned, earbuds on. I hadn't witnessed his crime. 2 weeks later, on another snowy day, he had tried the same trick again. But Lily had jumped out and ruined his plan. This failure had made him too scared to act recklessly. Plus, I had never gone to the police. He had assumed I hadn't seen the accident. Ethan had thought he had dodged a bullet, but little did he know justice was bound to catch up. The day after Ethan happily announced a new endorsement, I handed all the evidence over to the police. The internet went nuts. Once the police got involved, everything got easier. Oh, and to prevent Ethan from using connections to escape, I posted all the evidence online. With countless eyes watching, no one dared to help him this time. After a thorough investigation, the police quickly released an announcement: the old man's death by dragging and Lily's near-death experience. Ethan was responsible for both incidents. The first was accidental homicide. The second was premeditated attempted murder. Ethan got arrested. He confessed everything. It turned out that after the first incident, Ethan had been on the lookout for me. He had tracked me for a long while, figuring out my routines. Every day I took a path with no surveillance cameras. He had chosen that spot to commit the crime, but he couldn't have guessed I wasn't alone. Lily, wearing a mask and hat, always stood at a distance, silently watching over me. A rising star had become a murderer. Nothing was more sensational than that. Ethan felt wronged, claiming youthful ignorance. He said he hadn't known the old man had gotten snagged by the car. A pure accident, he claimed. But the backlash was even harsher. The internet called him unrepentant, still lying to this day. In the years since, the old man who had just wanted $6 for a bowl of noodles remained uncompensated. Once Ethan went to jail, life calmed down for me. Lily's rising fame only grew faster than before the incident. We started our own studio and quickly made a name for ourselves in the industry. Lucy reached out again. Her company had lost its top star, and the year's investment was down the drain. Lucy was struggling. The once pampered lady had now fallen from grace. The day she came to see me, it was drizzling. She stared at the raindrops on the window. "The rain on the streets feels so soft," she said. "What?" I asked. Lucy turned around. "I said if we hadn't broken up, we'd be planning our wedding now." "Yeah," Lucy replied. "I wanted a summer wedding." "Too bad that day never came," I said. "You'll meet someone better. I wish you well," I said politely. "I thought so too," she gave a self-deprecating smile. "But a year after breaking up with you, I can't move on. I'm up all night, restless. Every time I close my eyes, I hear your voice. The meds the doctor gave me didn't work. Edward, you know what? Only when I play old meeting recordings with your voice can I finally fall asleep." I nodded, offering the most reasonable advice. "Maybe try a different doctor." "Edward, don't you forgive me?" "It's not about forgiving. It's just not love," I replied. Lucy's eyes reddened. She dropped to her knees before me. "Edward, please give me another chance." I looked at her with pity, then slowly raised my hand. The engagement ring on my finger sparkled. "I'm engaged," I said. Lucy was left speechless, her last hope shattered by my words. Blood instantly drained from her face. "Why?" she started. "Lily proposed to me," I said. I said yes. I caressed the ring. "We planned to go public the day after tomorrow." "You can't!" Lucy was distraught. "Edward, you were my fiancé." Didn't we say we'd build an entertainment company together, have a daughter, raise her as CEO? How can you, Lucy? I gently reminded her. Snap out of it. You broke up with me, remember? Lucy was stunned, wavering unsteadily. As I walked away, she reached out desperately to grab me, but Lily intercepted her. Lily shielded me. Lucy, please don't harass my fiancé. Yours? Lucy sputtered. I've been taking care of him all these years. Well, thank you for watching over Edward, but that's no longer needed, Lily remarked. Driven by anger, Lucy slammed her fist on the window. Blood dripped from her knuckles. Edward loves me, she screamed. He's just angry. He'll come back. Lucy, Lily interjected. Has Edward ever really cared for you? Real care. She had a mischievous smile, speaking softly. When I was a kid, my temper was bad. The principal often punished me and wouldn't let me eat. It was Edward who saved a bite of his bread each day for me. At school, I was poor and always hungry. Edward risked getting into trouble with his foster parents to share his pocket money with me. I was bullied by my teachers and classmates, fell into depression, but Edward talked me through it, encouraged me to keep going, and even risked himself to get back at them. Lily paused before continuing. Because of him, I've made it this far. Oh, Lucy, do you know what major Edward likes? He loves biology, but for my sake, he switched to studying humanities and chose film and television as his major. Lily lit a cigarette, but quickly remembered, I don't like the smell, and put it out. Edward never said he loves me, yet for over 2 decades he's never left my side. Lily looked at me fixedly, and I stared back. At that moment, I finally understood my own feelings. I'm not a good person. I don't love just anyone. I can do anything to reach my goals. But Lily is different. I will share life and death with her because she's become an inseparable part of my life, beyond love, family, or friendship. That night, Lily was beneath me. I stroked her face and complimented her, telling her how beautiful she was. Lily doesn't like people saying she's pretty. As a kid, that's how fights started. But with me, it was different. She enjoyed whatever I said. Edward. She held me tight as I did as I pleased, her eyes beautifully colored in red. I told you I avenged you again. API amemum, Lily smiled. But it's not over yet, right, Edward? You want more than this? I stopped inside her. You really know me too well. Yeah, it's not over. My ultimate goal isn't just to get rid of Ethan, it's the entertainment company. That's the real reason I approached Lucy. I want to replace her, stand at the top of the industry, make this arrogant industry bow down to me. Lucy's company, which I spent so much effort on building, I know all the flaws that could bring it down. Now it's time to eat away at it. Lily turned over and kissed me. Go and make your move, Edward. Her kiss was soft like waves. I'm your most loyal subordinate. Use me as you wish. The entertainment company started having problems, crumbling from within. First, it was the finances. When Lucy asked me about the financial staff, I said they were fine, but actually, they were greedy. A long-term risk, just as I wanted. Sure enough, a crisis erupted. After waiting a while, problems kept emerging, hurting the company's reputation. Many board members began strategically withdrawing. Lucy was overwhelmed, the company on the brink. She held on for 2 months before finally coming to me. When Lucy found me, she had lost a lot of weight, looking haggard. She asked me for help. I was direct. I want your shares. Her eyes flickered. But no buts. If you can't decide, go handle it yourself. I closed the door. Outside, Lily stood guard over Lucy, both silent. After a long time, Lucy looked up at her. Lily, do you know why I'm better than you? Lily continued. I'm more obedient than you. Lucy seemed to understand, but also not. I've never wanted anything in this life except Edward himself. Not even my own life matters. Whatever he does, I'll follow and help him reach the top. Lily closed her eyes. Her final words left Lucy stunned. Because once we're at the top, no one can bully us anymore. At this moment, separated by a door, Lily and I were back to back, like when we were 6, locked in a small, dark room, relying on each other through life's tumultuous currents. I finally made my move. Lucy stepped back and supported me. 5 months later, the entertainment company underwent a complete transformation. I rebuilt its system, holding the most shares and naturally leading the board. Lily's personal studio became a part of the company, making her my singular top artist. However, some senior managers opposed me renaming the company. One female executive loyal to Lucy didn't accept me as the new chairman, saying I used looks to climb up. I wasn't mad. Women faced so many injustices in the workplace. Talented ones like her deserved good treatment. I called her to my office, explained the company system and plans. She listened in silence. "Did you do all this?" she finally asked. "Yeah, so what do you think?" "But you're in film studies. How do you manage a company?" "Learned a bit from my foster parents when I was young. Learned more with a big shot in Hong Kong after being sold off." "Oh, by the way, that's how we got into the Hong Kong market." I shrugged. "That's probably why I'm here now. Looks are important, but true strength beats beauty easily. Love and appearances might let you down, but skill won't. I never thought I'd be an assistant either." I smiled, pointing upwards. "I'm set on being the boss." The female executive stayed silent for a long time and eventually asked one question. Equal pay for equal work, regardless of gender. Can you truly achieve that? Aren't we doing it already? Later, when we went public, she stood right by my side. She became another confidant beside Lily. As for Lucy, she was diagnosed with severe depression. She decided to leave the company behind, traveling abroad to heal and relax. I had once nurtured her from a spoiled young lady to a chairman. Now I had turned her back into a young lady. On the day she left, it was said she waited at the airport until the last moment. I never showed up. Before boarding, with the summer sky drizzling lightly around her, she said, "Edward came to see me off." As a colleague was dropping me off at the airport, they asked, "What?" She stared out the window for a long time without saying a word. Later, I happened to see a picture from that airport drop-off. On Lucy's backpack, she still had the good luck charm I had given her when we first got together. On the 3rd anniversary of the company's public launch, our business was growing steadily. Lily became an indomitable milestone and top star. We had a wedding. Neither of us had family there, just friends among their blessings. Lily took my hand and cried. "Edward, I have a family now, don't I?" she said. I replied, "I've always been your family." I hugged her and whispered in her ear, "Lily, I love you." We both understood the weight of those 3 words. I had said, "I love you," countless times before, always with a straight face and casually, but it was never like today. Today, those words felt heavy, spanning half a lifetime, flowing through my veins. After all the ups and downs, I finally spoke them out loud. In the past, nothing could come between us. From now on, it would still be the same.